Affirmation. Today, no matter which part of the world you live in, or what educational pursuit you are undertaking, or what professional pursuit you are undertaking, India looms large on the global horizon. And that is true whether you are discussing energy, with which I am primarily associated, or you are in technology. The transformation that is taking place in the world, India is part of that. So I say reclamation, affirmation, but the most important is the final one, which is creation. You are the guys who are the agents. You are the agency for that change. And if I come to my current job, if I may call it that, which is Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, my friend introduced me also as Housing and Urban Affairs. I did that for 7 years. I was also Minister for Civil Aviation for 2 years during the pandemic. We managed to get Air India privatized during that. I was also Minister for Commerce and Industry, which is a job I'd rather leave to my colleague Piyush ji just now with what's going on in the world. What is the current change that we are witnessing? I'm a student of history, so I always turn around and say, anything that you discuss has to be in the context of continuity, which is continuity of current policies and the change. But I make this submission to you before I go on to the hardcore subject, is that no matter which way you look at it, the change that is taking place today is revolutionary. It's not evolutionary or slow continuity giving rise to incremental change. It is revolutionary. Let me share some statistics with you. When Mr. Modi, the Honorable Prime Minister, assumed charge, India was perhaps the 10th or 11th largest economy in the world. In the 10 years plus that he has been Prime Minister, we've moved from there to the 5th situation. At the current rate, by next month or so, we should be the 4th largest economy, and within a year plus, the 3rd largest economy in the world, having moved on from 4 trillion to 7 trillion and then 10 trillion. But we must understand the context. Why did I talk about reclamation? It's so easy if you listen to a contrived Western narrative, and I choose to call it precisely that. They used to look down, India, the land of snake charmers, India where nothing works. Just remind them that 190 years before the colonial experience that we had, and I go back to the early 1700s, the contribution of the Indian economy to the global economy was about 25%. That is, India contributed 25% of the global GDP. Then came 190 years of colonial domination, and that dropped from 25% to 2% or even below. When Mr. Modi took over the government, people used to say India is part of the fragile five. Fragility being defined as, you know, if you're traveling and you have a suitcase and it has marked fragile, handled with care, it might contain some stuff which is easily breakable. Today, you're talking about being a $40 trillion economy. Today, no one is questioning that you will be the 3rd largest economy. I've never heard anybody question that. What they turn around and say, are you sure you'll be a developed country by then? It's again that subjective, slightly condescending tone that comes in the Western narrative when the people shaping that narrative, when we became the 5th largest economy, we took over the UK. We surpassed the UK. So some of it is natural. I don't take it too seriously. India was the first country to meet the Paris Agreement commitments, achieving 9 years ahead of 2030 our Paris commitments. 9 years ahead. We all talk in terms of energy, traditional energy not being friendly because it's a fossil fuel, hydrocarbons, you need to move away. Yes, I think we do need to move away. And India is in the forefront of doing that. If you look at our achievements, we were doing biofuel blending up to 1.5% when Modi ji assumed the reins in 2014. We had a target of 10% by 2022 November. I had just become Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas in 21. And I used to be in doubt whether we'll be able to do it. No, we did it 5 months in advance. Then we had a target of 20% blending by 2026. We did that 6 years in advance. We've already almost reached 19.6 or 20%. Why are we able to do this? A, you have a government that is politically committed to the transition. A government which is putting in place an ecosystem which will enable that transition. And a government which is ensuring, as was the overall objective, that we will leave the planet better off than of the kind that we inherited. A transition by definition involves a journey. The journey being pure fossil fuels to pure green energy. That is what would be called total sustainability. And I want to share something with you, a statistic I'm very happy to quote very often. In 1956, a young economist in the oil major Shell said that oil would peak. By oil would peak means there would be no need for crude oil after that by the year 2000. Not only did he get his assessment wrong, but he got several other things wrong and created total chaos. Today, we are in 2025. We are set on the journey. Our biofuel targets have been achieved 6 years in advance. We are stepping on the gas, literally, pun intended, on compressed biogas. We are moving down green hydrogen. But if I were to ask any of you, and if you are professional economists, to make an assessment by when will oil peak, I don't think any of you would hazard a guess whether it will be by 2030 or 2040 or 2050. Because in order to make the transition meaningfully, you must also have green energy ready. Now I want to come to a few interesting statistics. What have we done and why do I think the youth, all of you, because the subject matter is really very, very interesting. It is innovation and ambition converge to shape a limitless India. What is the limitless India? One, clearly you can't have a limitless India only in terms of saying we are rich in resources. But I think if you have to look at that limitless India's true potential, it lies in all the kind of people who are gathered here. I also want to extend a very warm welcome to my colleague and dear friend, the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam. Give him a very warm hand. Coming back to my statistics, the country's bioeconomy has soared from $10 billion in 2014 to an unmatched $130 billion in 2024 by crossing 200 GW in clean energy capacity. Why do I think youth are the agency for change? Because whilst technological advancement, innovation will come, and it will come rapidly, in the struggle or in the quest for energy conservation, efficiency and sustainability, I don't think it's doable without the youth. People in my generation, we count ourselves very fortunate. We were a post-partition generation. When I came into the world after Delhi University, the number of jobs available, the number of economic opportunities available was just a handful. Today, we are in the happy situation where, thanks to sensible government policies, IITs have increased from 23 and the threefold rise in the All India Institutes of Medical Sciences, 7 in 2014, now we've got 3 times that number. Our educational landscape is ever growing with a doubling of medical colleges in just 10 years, 780 versus 387 in 2014. the government has laid out an ecosystem along with the physical infrastructure for the youth to flourish. But let's make no mistake about this. Our developmental challenges are sui generis. They're one of a kind. Our strongest plus, or what I would call our strength, lies in the human resource, in what I said, the people who are gathered here. You are in the right age group. You've had the benefit of an education. The quality of that education is being improved. The skilling is being improved. But having said all that, it is one thing to be able to meet aspirations. When you are a $300 million economy, difficult. Today you are a $4 trillion economy, going on to 7, 10 trillion and 40 trillion, it will be much easier to meet those aspirations. But equally, when you meet your aspirations, both in terms of the jobs that you have, both in terms of the quality of contribution you can make, you will also realize that you will be shaping those contours. I want to share with you something about connectivity. It should be possible for a bright youngster in one of the northeastern states to come and carve out a living in one of the western states, or equally from somebody from rural Punjab to move to the northeast and seize the economic opportunity there. When I went to Advantage Assam recently in Guwahati, I've attended a lot of platforms. We ourselves hosted a very successful India Energy Week, the 3rd edition. It's already the second largest platform. But what these platforms succeed in doing is to provide on a pan-India basis opportunities which cover normal economic activities, breakthrough, innovation, entrepreneurial streaks for our youth to be able to imbibe and across the country and for visitors. Connectivity is absolutely paramount. In 2014, we had 74 airports. Today we have more than 155 airports. Our civil aviation is growing from leaps and bounds. I believe you had the privilege of listening to Mr. Scindia this morning. One of the statistics I'm very fond of saying is that after Jewar Airport near Delhi is completed, India, Jewar and Delhi, Indira Gandhi International Airport, will provide 140 million passengers footfall, which is bigger than London, Heathrow, Gatwick and Stansted put together. So in other words, we are now looking at a situation where, I shouldn't say this, people may be sensitive, but I think the tipping point has come. You will get a reverse movement of people who went to the United States, Canada, certainly United Kingdom, who went there looking for economic opportunity. I think it's the opportunity here that beckons. Let me tell you something about a startup fund. My oil marketing companies, we're on just 5 or 6 of them, but they account for 19% of the country's revenue. They have a startup fund of 550 crores. And I had a meeting with them recently when I was in Assam. We went to a neighboring state. We had one of the brainstormings which we have every month. And I told them I'd like to see this startup fund increase from 550 to 2,000 crores before long. And I didn't see any dissenting tone there. They are supporting 303 startups with something like 290 crores. But the real good news is that we have the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world with more than 1.5 lakh startups and nearly 120 unicorns. You guys know what a unicorn is. For any country which can produce 120 unicorn, and that too also recently, that country has arrived. We have 1,700 global capability centers currently operating in India, employing more than 2 million highly skilled Indian professionals. I'd like to see that change a bit. I want the global capability centers, but I don't like a situation when we say 2 million highly skilled individuals. I want that skilled employment also to take place, because these global capability centers are working to assist the economic entities outside India. So we need to have a growth in the others as well. A report by NASSCOM said that Indian Global Capability Center is set to touch $100 billion by 2030 and generate 2.5 billion jobs, million jobs. I'm going to conclude on one basic note to reiterate the three concepts I highlighted to begin with. Reclamation. You are very fortunate that you are living in a country which today is reclaiming its past with a great sense of confidence and pride. Affirmation that the Indian ecosystem today, the growth of the economy, the strength of resolve in the political leadership is all looking at providing Limitless India with a boost. And you guys are the center of it. You are the ones who will shape the journey from here to Viksit Bharat. Because if your average age is 20-22 now, you will be in the prime of your life and you will be in your mid-40s when Viksit Bharat arrived. And finally, in that quest for clean energy, which I am more directly dealing with now, you guys are the agency for that change in all respects. Because I think you will do more for conservation, efficiency, and sustainability than any other segment of society. So it remains for me to thank you for giving me a patient hearing. God bless you. May you go from strength to strength. And I want to thank the Republic and my friend Arnab for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, sir.